Hey everyone, it's a new week, and so that means it's time for a new video, a video to help you take care of your marriage. And what we're calling these Tune-Up Thursdays. These videos are going to start being released on Thursdays, and hopefully there's something that will help you to take care of your marriage. And today, what we're going to be talking about is priority. Now, I've got some blocks to share with you. I don't know if you can see these, but it's an H and a W, and what this represents is a husband and a wife. And what we have to do in our marriages is we have to make sure that this relationship is always priority. Now, there's going to be things that try to change that order, where your priority is not your husband or not your wife. Circumstances can do that. A lot of times, you get busy, all kinds of different things, stressors in your life. But we have to remember that we need to keep this relationship always priority. Now, I want to give you some specific examples of things that try to mess up this priority. And one of them is relationships, our friendships, or our relationships with someone else. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about an affair, but an affair would fall into this category, where we let some type of relationship or friendship become priority and come in between us and our spouse. So we have to be careful that we don't let any other relationship. Now, there's relationships that fall into this category. One of them is an in-law relationship. We have to be careful that we don't let our in-laws take priority in our marriage. That's not the way it was supposed to be. Remember, we're supposed to leave our fathers and mothers and come together and join with our spouses. What happens here in the case of an in-law or in-laws is we don't set healthy boundaries. And I would kind of say, you might want to blame the in-law, but I think where a lot of the blame or some of the shared blame needs to happen is with the couple, because the couple has to set healthy boundaries. And so husbands, if it's your mom and dad that are the issue, husbands, you need to address the issue. Wives, if it's your mom and dad that are the issue, you need to address the issue with your parents. But you need to make sure that you're united, because if we're not careful, an in-law, a pushy in-law, an over-aggressive in-law, an in-law who doesn't understand boundaries will come in and try to take priority and try to be priority back in their daughter or back in their son's life. So you have to watch out for that in-law relationship. Here's a big one. Kids. A lot of times, the biggest mistake that happens in a lot of marriages is when we let our kids take priority in our household. It should never, ever be this way. But you might say, well, Jimmy, our kids need us. We're responsible for them. We provide for them. They get everything from us. And yes, that's true. But the best gift that you can give to your child is a healthy marriage. And it's not going to be a healthy marriage if the kids are the center or if the kids are the priority of the relationship. Because here's another thing to think about too. After about 18 years or 19 years, what happens when this kid moves away and you have a marriage that was centered around the kid? You've got a husband and a wife who don't know each other, who don't recognize each other, who have zero in common, because what they built their marriage around, their child, is now gone. And so what ends up happening is they continue to drift further and further apart. So we can't let our kids take priority in our marriages. Now, kids are important, yes. In-laws are important, yes, but they're not priority. The priority is the relationship. And here's something that's not a relationship, but we have to be careful, and that's J for job or our careers. We have to be careful that we don't let our careers take priority in our relationships. Now, we can justify it by saying, well, this job, Jimmy, this career, this provides for my family. This puts a roof over our heads. This puts food on the table. And I understand that, and I totally agree with that. And I'm not saying that your job is not important, but what I am saying is that it cannot take priority over your relationship with your spouse, because whatever you allow to come in between you and your spouse, whether it's a job, whether it's a child, whether it's an in-law, whether it's another relationship, what that does, it doesn't bring you closer together. What it does is actually separates you two. And the separation may be just a little bit right now, but if that continues to be the case, then what will happen is the separation between a husband and a wife will begin to grow bigger and bigger and more distant and more distant. And before you know it, your marriage relationship doesn't look anything like it used to when you first started. So what I want to remind you today is to make sure that you do whatever it takes to make this a priority. Okay? That's my challenge for you. That's the best thing that you can do to take care of your marriage, is to make this relationship a priority. And one of the ways to make this a priority is to make sure that God is the foundation for this relationship. Because when God is not the foundation for this relationship, then that's when we let all these other things come in and distract us. If God's the foundation, then we build upon that. And we say, my wife, my husband, they are the number one thing in my life, and everything else is secondary. So take care of your marriage and make sure that your husband or your wife is your priority in your life.